Hello my sweeties and welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know me, my name is Celise and thank you for joining my spooky little family. In today's video, we will be talking about high-rated horror films I didn't really like. Let's get into the video. Okay, hi. Before we get into today's video, the other day, I did an impulse buy. Okay? And you guys know I have been obsessed with giallo, and it's giallo era on the channel. So I went on eBay and I found this pretty rare poster of The Case of the Bloody Iris. And I have no idea how it got here so fast. I think it was an express shipping, which I am not complaining. I'm very, very excited because I'm opening it right now and we're gonna see it together. Okay, we're gonna do it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, are you fucking kidding me? Wait, oh my God. Look at that. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my God, you guys. I can't wait to hang this up in our apartment. It's gonna be amazing. Now when people come over, they're gonna be like, what's that? And I'll have to explain to them that I'm obsessed with giallo now. And then I'm gonna have to do my whole thing about who Edwidge Fenwick is and George Hilton and go on a whole thing. Oh my God, you guys, so happy about this. I'm sure it will not be my last giallo impulse buy. And now we can get into today's video. This is just my opinion. It is only my opinion. And if you like any of these films, that's really great. They just simply were not for me, and that's okay. And now to start off at number 10, this is one that really, really did not do it for me. This is In Fabric, directed by Peter Strickland, and it currently has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. A lonely divorcee visits a bewitching London department store to find a dress to transform her life. She soon finds a perfect artery red gown that unleashes an unstoppable curse. Okay, now reading the synopsis out loud, it really sounds stupid. But this film, for me, the story is actually interesting. Like, it started off and I was really thinking I was gonna love this one. I really just thought, I saw the poster, I saw the trailer, I was like, all right, this is definitely my vibe. And then I don't know, it just didn't connect with me. I feel like though the story was interesting, it was a very, very slow burn. And even so, the burn was not really a burn. And honestly, it turned out to be very lackluster. I feel like this is something that could have been great, and it was just really mediocre. Unfortunately, the second half of the film is very slow and boring, and I just could not get with it at all. And then once we got to the ending, I was like, okay. So though it is a very well-made movie, very well acted, and I mean the technical aspects are there, this just doesn't cut it for me, and I am genuinely confused as to how it has a 91%. But you know, who am I to judge? I don't know. And now at number 9, we have a Spanish horror film that came out on Netflix not too long ago, and that is The Platform, directed by Galder Gaztelu Urrutia. And this film has a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. In the future, prisoners housed in vertical cells watch as inmates in the upper cells are fed while those below starve. This was actually one of those Netflix horror movies that came out, and it was doing that thing that awful movie I can't think of that scarred me. Holy shit. Oh,
What Keeps You Alive?
I guess their marketing team was like really hamming it up because this was one of those films that was in every article as one of the scariest and one of the most anxiety-inducing horror films. So naturally, with it being super hyped up, I was like, okay, I have to watch this. And it's in Spanish. I absolutely love that. So let's do it. Okay, so this is a very well-made film, and the acting is actually really, really good. I have no issues with that. The story is interesting, but I don't think that the execution of this film really does much. Unfortunately, I feel like as you watch this film, you're really waiting for something else to happen, and you're like, oh my god, what else is gonna happen? Is that it? Like, okay, what's next? And I feel like it also has that very lackluster thing. It just feels like, whoa, that's it? The way it ended, I was like, okay. I think most of the films on this list today will be ones that I think are lackluster and failed in their execution, to say the least. I will say, though, that I do understand why some people liked this movie. I just don't think it's for me. The acting is really great, and some of the lines are absolutely hilarious, but that doesn't save it for me. Okay, so at number 8, we have one that I have never liked. I have watched it like 5 times, I think, and I just can't. I can't do it. There's something about this movie that I just can't get with it. That is Slither, directed by James Gunn, which has a 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. Wheelsey is a small town where not much happens, and everyone minds their own business. No one notices when evil slips in quietly, but when people find mutilated livestock and a woman goes missing, Sheriff Bill Party discovers an alien organism that threatens to devour all life on Earth. Y'all, I can't read that synopsis, seriously. I think this may be the weakest one on this list for me. I know there's a lot of people out there that really love this movie. I know it's supposed to be a body horror. I know it's supposed to be gross and icky, and I love body horror. It's one of my favorite subgenres. But this is not it. This is not it. I also will say that though the movie is definitely technically well made, the story here to me is very stupid. With the story being so ridiculous and kind of incoherent for me, I feel like we don't really get to see our actors shine, and that's a problem. Not to mention, this movie, just thinking about it makes me extremely nauseous because I just think it's absolutely disgusting. Now at number 7, we have Eden Lake, directed by James Watkins. This holds a 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. A young couple on a romantic weekend break at a remote lake house are terrorized by a group of vicious delinquents. So this is actually another film that was highly recommended to me, that a lot of people in the horror community really like, and unfortunately this is just not for me. There's something about this film for me that feels like it's just trying to do things for shock value, and I can't get with that. I also do feel like the story here is just kind of, it's like, alright, you know? But I do recognize that this came out in the late 2000s, I think. And I feel like it feels like that. It feels like a very late 2000s horror. The 2008 horror, I don't know, but they all have that feeling, and they all have that like, ooh, we're gonna be like super gross and bleh. And it's a no for me. I will say the acting here is good. Everybody is good, you know, they came in, they did their jobs, they did a great job, But the story, I mean, I've seen better. And now at number 6, we have The Tenant, which is directed by actual trash, Roman Polanski. Unfortunately, I don't even want to say this man's name. This film holds a 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. A man rents a Paris apartment where he finds himself drawn into a rabbit hole of dangerous paranoia. Okay, so the reason I watched this film is because I kept seeing the trailer for it on Amazon, and I was like, all right, that looks pretty good. It looks like it could be super anxiety inducing. It really looks like it's a good thriller. This may be one of the most boring films I've ever seen in my life. So unfortunately, we not only have this film directed by Roman Polanski, but he's also starring in it, and he is our leading role. So that was pretty rough. I don't particularly think that Roman Polanski is a very talented actor, so everything he was doing was kind of just getting on my nerves. He's also alongside Isabelle Adjani, an absolute queen, whom you may know from Possession 1981. I always talk about that movie here. She is such a powerhouse that honestly, in the scenes that they are together, she is just taking over the entire room, and it's as if he doesn't exist. So I did kind of love that. I think that just proved my point that Isabelle Adjani is amazing. So
guess what? I'm gay.
Yay! Okay, but really, this film is super slow, and I feel like it doesn't really know what it's about. It's not for me. It is way too long. The pacing here is unbearable. But you know what? What are you gonna do? Trash is trash. Okay, and now at number 5, I'm a little nervous to talk about this one. I know it's very loved in the horror community. And this is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, directed by John McNaughton, and it holds a 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. Arriving in Chicago, Henry moves in with ex-con acquaintance Otis and starts schooling him in the ways of the serial killer. This is another film that has been highly recommended to me and is always talked very highly of. And unfortunately, it just didn't do anything for me. I feel like this film also struggles from some serious pacing issues in the middle, and it kind of was just like taking me out. Not to mention, there are just some really gross, rapey scenes, and I can't get with it. It's just not, I can't do it. I can't do the grimy, nasty, icky, like, no thank you. It's just not for me. Though the acting is great, I can't say much else that I liked about it, unfortunately. Now at number 4, we have one that is more on the newer side, and this one is also pretty well loved. This is Possessor, directed by Brandon Cronenberg. This holds a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. Tessa Voss, an elite corporate assassin, takes control of other people's bodies using brain implant technology to execute high-profile targets. Okay, so I was actually very, very excited for this film because I really like David Cronenberg, so I was super excited to see Brandon Cronenberg make this film. The synopsis interested me, but unfortunately, this movie, though very well made and very well acted, and the script, not that bad, it's just not really great in its execution. I also just feel like the message of the film is kind of lost. It really feels like just messy. I don't really know what happened, what it's about. I really couldn't tell you. It kind of just feels like a movie where a bunch of things are happening, but you don't actually know what the hell is happening. And though I can deal with that in some cases, if the story is just like not making any sense to me, it's gonna be a no for me. I think something went wrong there. Now at number 3, we have one that I watched fairly recently, and that is We Are Still Here, directed by Ted Geoghegan. This film holds a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. Every 30 years, a lonely old house in the fields of New England wakes up and demands a sacrifice. Okay, so I actually watched this film for a movie night with my friend Melissa, and I really love Barbara Crampton. That's all I'm gonna say, is that Barbara Crampton is an absolute queen who just does not age. But on a more serious note, this film is actually very well made. I just feel like it does suffer from poor pacing. And though the story is kind of interesting, it's also not. I honestly don't even know how else to explain it. I believe that this film came out in 2011, and, you know, some of the CGI looks really awful. It does really look like that time. So, you know, that just for me, ooh. Unfortunately, this is one of those films that I just don't think they nailed it in its execution. I mean, am I really asking for that much? Yeah, anyway, I have nothing else to say. This is just not for me. This story didn't do much for me. I didn't really feel connected to any characters. I didn't feel sorry for them. That's a problem for me, so I would have to say I'd skip this one. Okay, now at number 2, this actually hurts my soul to have a film directed by this woman on here because I really like her a lot. But unfortunately, this film is not for me. This is The Invitation, directed by Karen Kusama, and this film holds a 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. While attending a dinner party at his former house, a man starts to believe that his ex-wife and her new husband have sinister plans for the guests. Okay, so while this film is very well directed and it looks great, the acting here does not match. We do have really good performances from John Carroll Lynch and Michael Hussman and Tammy Blanchard, but then our other characters that are kind of just guests at the party that have a few lines here and there, they are really not very good. So I really wanted to like this film because, again, it's also very well loved and a lot of people did recommend it to me. I really thought it would be this like really intense film, especially based off the trailer. But for me, I was kind of just waiting for it to be over, and it was just feeling super slow and not interesting. And yes, I understand it is a slow burn, but I mean, this was like really hard to get through. I'm gonna say that I don't get the hype for this one. It's not for me, but I really love Karen Kusama and she's an absolute queen. This one just, it didn't hit for me. I think it hit for other people, but I couldn't get with it. Okay, and now at number 1, we have one that I was super excited to see, and then it was one of the biggest disappointments for me. And that is It Comes at Night, directed by Trey Edward Schultz. This film holds a 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. After a mysterious apocalypse leaves the world with few survivors, 2 families are forced to share a home in an uneasy alliance to keep the outside evil at bay, only to learn that the true horror may come from within. Y'all, I really don't know what happened with this movie, but they completely missed the mark. They completely missed the mark for me. Okay, so this film came out in 2017, and I remember being very excited to go out and see it. When I did, I literally left the theater just feeling nothing. And so, and I mean that in a bad way. I don't mean like when you watch Martyrs and you feel nothing, like you feel like you have nothing left and it deeply affected you. I mean like I went in, I watched this entire thing, I was on this journey with these characters, and then I left and felt nothing. Like this story did absolutely nothing for my life. And it didn't bring anything new to the table in terms of this kind of horror film. It was one of those movies that again was very hyped up, and oh my God, the entire time you're waiting for something really groundbreaking to happen, and everything that happens is just so basic. This was a major disappointment for me. I really wanted to like it, but no. The pacing and everything else was fine. The acting was good, but the story, yeah, it comes at night. Not for me. Definitely gonna pass. I haven't seen it since. I don't think my feelings will change. All right, you guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe as it really helps me a lot. And be sure to click that little notification bell to be up to date every single time I upload. And let me know in the comments, what are some high-rated horror films that you don't really like? Are there any on this list that you agree with? I'd love to talk about it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.